Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Jane Turner.
Here.
Laura LaRue.
Here.
Teresa Musman.
Here.
Jackie Burke.
Here.
Lane Lukes.
Here.
Sharon Barkema.
Here.
Don Sanders.
Here.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd ask to make a change to the agenda. It is not customary to make amendments to the agenda, except under special circumstances under Iowa law. If you look at the backside of my printed report, I have explained special circumstances for the amendment of the agenda that has to do with the student record and a 30-day time limit for approval of open enrollment. And due to the transition of leadership in the district, I am just now becoming aware of this situation that has only this meeting to be acted upon. So I'm asking the board to amend the agenda for those special circumstances, and I'd like to suggest to be added as number 7 on the agenda, with everything else, with 7 slid down to 8 and so forth.
Okay. With that said, is there a motion to approve the agenda with the amended for the open enrollment?
I move that we amend the agenda. I'll second it.
Jackie? Is there any discussion? Not all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. I'll move on to approve the minutes, financial statements, and list of bills. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Laura second.
Is there any discussion?
I have 2 items. I went back and reviewed the 518 minutes, and I didn't see that they were amended to state.
I added the details.
And I apologize, I know this feels like a gotcha, but I've only been home for an hour, so. Should there be amended minutes from 518? Because the 518 minutes that are posted didn't indicate that they were amended.
Well, they were never approved, so I didn't put amended on it. I
Okay.
just changed it at the bottom.
Okay.
And I inserted what you had mentioned at the last meeting.
In the 518 minutes? I'm not trying to
I
split
said,
hairs, but,
discussion on wrestling was given by Dr. Daverson regarding possible merging the wrestling program with County Bullfield Wrestling School District.
and is that in the 518 minutes? Because I saw it in the 615.
No,
Okay.
private.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
And then I also have some concerns about the bills for our dental and our Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I don't think we should pay those bills until we have those issues resolved.
Kind of.
I believe that we've been paying for health and dental insurance for some of our retired employees that should not be on that insurance. And I know that those folks have reached out to the business office, and at this time, I don't know that that's been resolved. So the board can do what they want to with it. That's just a discussion item.
Pardon me?
How do we handle it if we actually need to change the billing?
Well, I don't know if I have a good answer to that, but we'll have to investigate and find out what.
That's all right that we approve the agenda that we've already paid. Correct.
No, we do not write checks till the board approves these. Kevin, is that a fair statement?
It's been
But
rectified.
it's been approved.
It's been
in-
fixed.
It's been fixed.
Oh, it had.
I've emailed back of people that have emailed me and showed them proof of everything, so that their plans were canceled when they were supposed to be. I don't know why they received insurance cards. I can't control what Walmart sends out, but that they send them proof that they were canceled effective when they submitted the paperwork.
I've worked with Walmart, they take their time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second to approve the Bennett's financial statements and list of bills. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Okay, motion passes. Welcome, everybody. Change of venue tonight. It's almost nice over here. Okay, reports. Superintendent Dan Frazier.
Yeah, first of all, nice to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me. This is my 4th day on the job, and so I'm hitting the ground running here. Sometimes I'll have my report out usually a day or two in advance, usually in electronic format so you can see it in advance. But sometimes there will be late breaking information that I'll want to report out to you, in which case I might have a paper supplement or something that comes out the night of the meeting. But in this case, I wanted to emphasize a few things on page 1 of my written report, and that is the school board filing window is open. There are 3 seats up for election at the coming election, and it's my understanding at this time we've had, Josie, we've had 1 set of papers requested at this point.
One person turned in to request it.
Oh, okay, so by requested, you mean,
They picked up papers.
picked up papers?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody picked it up, but for somebody else? Oh, okay. So we've got 1 person we know of and two players to be named later.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. But Josie and I are not going to get involved in this. We will never be involved in board elections. We'll vote. But meanwhile, it'll fall on you board members to try to recruit people that you think would be good fits for this school board and would have a good sense of service to the school district and would fit the best interest of the students here. So I'll leave that to you. I hope you don't mind me. I like this passage from Minnesota School Board Association. I'll try not to recycle too many Minnesota things. But I thought that was a really good article about what it takes to be a good board member. Moving on to the second page of my report, you'll see there are key dates for the upcoming board election. We held a joint quarterly meeting. I'm not sure what this group is called yet. They never really said at the meeting, but it's a quarterly meeting of the Belmont City Council, Belmont Chamber Board, BIDCO, and the school board, representatives of the school board, and we held it this Monday. And among the topics that were discussed were a company called, I think it was LTD, that hopes to one day provide wireless internet service to the community. And there's some talk about there's a shortage of daycare providers within the community, and someone has expressed an interest in maybe purchasing the Ramsey building and starting up daycare within that. That seems rather expensive to me. Seems like a rather expensive building for daycare, but because of that, I think a representative of Build a Better Belmont, I'm going to have trouble saying that 5 times real fast, he inquired about would the school ever have any interest in partnering in such an endeavor to try to bring more daycare to the community. So I'll just leave it at that as food for thought for right now. Meanwhile, we had an ISD Fiscal Management Conference yesterday. We've got that on the agenda. I'd asked the board members in attendance to kind of talk about what they gathered from that meeting. And I think that concludes my report for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Dan. You're welcome. Senior High Principal Rick Fisher.
Well, it's great to be back for a couple days. It's great to have a superintendent on board finally. That's awesome. Had a great day here today. It's my first day back for a little bit. I'm going to take a couple more days. Hopefully they're cooler than they are today. Working a little bit on trying to take care of business as far as setting ourselves up for next fall. Season's already. If you've seen, I asked for recommendations to hire already a little bit there. I also have ordered some porta potties for our fields and some of that other small stuff on the background side of that. Have had a decision with Mr. Howell on what production he's going to do. It sounds like he's going to do the musical in the fall. So
Good man, Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Always a classic.
You know, and so we've had those discussions. Set that way. Kind of prepare you a little bit. Mike Stitchworth with the band is going to be a little bit young this year. Going to have a lot of freshman kids there in the band, and we lost a good class, so they're probably not going to march this year. I just kind of wanted to set you up for that. They're going to work more on their musicianship instead of the marching skills this year and try to get themselves a good foundation. So they're still going to perform, they're just not going to march. I want you to, so they're going to be there talking about doing something, maybe out, walking out in the little straight lines out in front of the crowd and performing, doing the normal type of sets they do before the songs, number of songs and stuff, but just wouldn't have a marching component to it. They have a little jungle of classrooms. I think we've got that pretty well set for next year. We do have some movement there, but it's minimal. We're very, very tight. At the high school, we've got some doubling up. And I think those teachers in those classrooms work very well together, or will work very well together. If not, I'm sure we'll have conversations about what we need to do to be professional as we go. I have good faith that that'll be taken care of. I thought our backstop for baseball was a good start this year.
Very good start.
And we're had a conversation with Ed today. Sometimes I sent an email to Corey, myself, and Dan about trying to get together and start talking about that facilities. I think part of that conversation will be mentioned at that point in time too. I've already talked to one of the board members, at one of the softball games, and she's got some great ideas, I want to bring that back and then, kind of get together and see what we can do, continue that process. The areas that I'm kind of concerned with right now is, again, when we've talked about it in the past, how do we get people into our football field that are handicapped? How do we get them to our baseball field, softball field that are handicapped? The biggest one right now is that football field that's empty season. I'm very concerned about that because right now it's not appropriate. So we really got to do something with that pretty rapidly. Try and get full access to people that are handicapped. And then I think we need to, I'm trying to work on that power lunch stuff and trying to make that very solid. We're also trying to do some stuff with our computers. So that's kind of where I'm at. Other than not much going on. All right?
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Jacobson Principal, Mark Young.
Good evening. I've not even met everyone here, so, but thank you for hiring me. Thank you for having the confidence in me. I'm truly humbled by this opportunity. I'm really excited. I've met a lot of nice people already. I've moved into my office. I've been here several days. I worked a couple of weeks ago. I worked last week. I worked this week, a few days here and there, and came and ran in the firecracker 5K. They gave me a medal, so the idea is the older you get, the less people run, so you're pretty much guaranteed if you show up, they'll give you something nice to run no matter how slow you are. So then my family and I, a couple of the kids and grandkids came to the parade, and my dentist thanked you because they brought home a sack of candy I couldn't carry. But you've been very welcoming, people have been very nice. I've taken several drives around town, and we just kind of get ourselves acquainted with the community. Corey and his crew have done a great job with the landscaping and the care of I've just been so impressed. The building and the outside of the building looks so nice. Custodians are hard to work, cleaning, Joe and Dennis, and some other people have been here cleaning this week and last week. And I think we'll be ready to go. Meeting with teachers as we go, as they're able to come in and meet, getting to know everybody. I know a couple teachers. I've had met them and had some meetings with them, so I'm excited to learn more about what goes on here. Dan's been very gracious in sharing his expertise with me. As you know, I'm a new principal, so I have a mentor that actually I got an email today. A new mentor assigned to me. I went down yesterday to a new principals conference for new elementary principals only. So there were it was a small group, about 20 of us in a room all day long talking about what new principals go through, and they were very gracious at SAI to provide their expertise. And it was mostly people who were fairly new on the job, so people have been there maybe a year, 4 or 5 years, not somebody who'd done the same old for 20 or 30 years. So it was very nice to hear from them, lots of good ideas. A little panicked as I was driving home, not to mention driving through the weather last night as it was accumulating from the windshield. But anyway, thank you again. I hope I have more to report next month. And we have kind of a schedule worked out now where I'll give updates to Dan and we can then share out as we go. But if you ever have any questions, my office is right down the hall, as you know, and it has a sign on it that says, please interrupt me, or something like that. So please come in and do that. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mark. Technology report, Morris.
We have received all the computers, and they have taken over the library over at the elementary, or at the high school. That's why y'all are here at the elementary. Everything's been inventory tagged, and starting on Monday, I know I'm so excited about all of this and scared too, but it's going to be so cool. We will be doing our Apple training, our Jumpstart training, and what that is the management system for all the computers. Everything's in the cloud, and we will also have a management server. And this allows us to actually manage the computers without having to go and touch every single one after we've touched every single one initially. So we can push out software, we can do updates in timely manners, all that kind of stuff, monitor what's going on with them, and know where they're at. So this is all very exciting, lots of stuff going on.
It's almost like a login. You can actually log into it and see if there's any issues from where you're at.
Yep, it'll
Even
send
if
out.
the kid has it at home.
Yep, it'll constantly communicate. We can push out pieces of software that are needed specific to their courses. If we need to, we can adapt them just what they need. It's so cool, you guys. I can't wait to really show you the interface of stuff once we get it going. But it's very exciting. So that is in, and the only thing that we're really waiting on now is the CAD lab computers and a little bit of components for our network. We are putting in the wireless access points that we've increased. The switches will be going in, and then we'll be running a lot of updates. So lots of work happening. We're gonna, down to crunch time, so.
Do you have a date set for distributing computers?
We have a tentative date.
You don't have to
set.
share it. Yeah.
But we need to sit down and actually have a more concise plan with administrators to see exactly how we want to do it. Greg, John Seifert, and I had initially met, and we came up with an outline of how we would want to approach it, because we want parents involved too. So I think initially we started out with it being in 2 different sections, so we could do half the population and the other half of the student population with parents, and then make sure we have plans for those that can't attend either one of those nights. The specifics of what is contained in that, we're still working on, but we know we want this to be a celebration, a big, huge celebration. So just bringing that excitement into with the kids and the community and the parents. So that's where we're at.
I think the media should be involved.
Pardon me?
What do you think of the old computers?
The old computers, the laptops that we had in the carts, we are refurbishing those, and 4th grade is each going to have a classroom set contained within those. Those are getting new hard drives, as solid state hard drives, so those will last us another 2 years. We looked at what we had for the remaining computers, and at this moment, it looks like we'll be able to put classroom sets into 3rd grade also, which is nice too. The other ones we're going to go ahead and wipe, and we're going to take a really good look at it to see what our avenues are, perhaps to sell. We're not sure for parts. We're not at that very point right there. The lab that was up in the library, we have moved those computers down here, and we will be putting 2 or 3 of those computers in the lower elementary rooms. So those will be utilized in those for their reading counts tests and other things that they do down there. We'll be doing Moby Max and other online software that they'll be able to use those for. So
I stopped in this week since I was on the technology committee, and I would really like to thank Trish and the Seifert family, because they are doing a lot of extra work, just a ton, and they didn't complain, and they were happy to do it, and they had to unpackage all the boxes, then undo the max, then undo the cases, then put everything together, and it's a lot of work, and thank you for all.
Yeah, I was going to announce, I want to formally thank John and Melissa and her children. They came and helped unbox. And what would have taken Aaron and I maybe 2 days to do, we got done in 4 hours. And it was like just an army of ants just shuffling through everything. You'd be on the other side of the room and you'd hear it. And it was just like, oh, this is so great. But that was just, formally to thank the Seifert family for helping unbox. That was wonderful. So.
Where will we store all these, or will they stay with the kids in the summertime?
We'll just have to take over part of the library again. Now, if you recall where the lab was in the library, off to that, that's all going to be open. We have charging stations in the back along that wall with quick charge areas, because we know that sometimes students will forget to charge. It'll take about 15 minutes probably to get them through the rest of the day. And then there's going to be 2 round tables there with chairs for the PSEO kids. And those can move and be collapsed and pushed aside, and then we'll just have an area there that's secure. The server room has been cleaned out. There's been some technology in there that's like really old. That's interesting, but we have no use for it. So we'll be recycling it. Some of those pieces can be sold to a recycling company, so we'll get some funding back from that. So we're looking at those. We also get cabinets for storage for the charging for the 5th and 6th grade up here. So adapt and adjust. We'll see what we need and we'll go from there. It's very exciting. We're just on that edge right now. So we'll have to make sure we walk the talk.
Wonderful, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trish. Okay, open enrollment. Parents of an 8th grade student for Ashland Heights has requested open enrollment to Cal for the coming year under special circumstances defined under the Code of Iowa. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the open enrollment application.
Is there a second?
Awesome.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the open enrollment for Braxton Mines. All those in favor, please say
Any
yes.
discussion?
Excuse me. Anybody want to discuss it?
When was the application received? Because was it after the deadline?
Oh, yes, it was received this week or late last week.
So does it meet the requirements for the board automatically approving it, or do we actually have option to not approve it?
It's somewhat of a subjective call as it deals with specific confidential issues. Mr. Fisher and I have discussed it, and we believe it does apply to this case.
So your recommendation is that we approve it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Okay, motion passes. Employment. We have a list of coaches. Is everybody all right doing these all together?
I have a question regarding Brittany Miller's contract.
Let's get a motion first, and then we'll have the question.
Yep, that's fine.
I'm going to lump them all together then. We have Brittany Miller, head high school softball coach, Darla Jacobson, Christensen, head football coach, Shannon Mullenbrook, high school assistant football coach, Joe Perez, junior high football coach, Brad Blecke, head cross-country coach, Lee Bobber, head volleyball coach, Don Barkema, high school assistant volleyball coach, Andrew O'Connor, head girls basketball coach, Dave O'Connor, high school assistant girls basketball coach. We have volunteers, Marty Schumann, high school volunteer assistant basketball coach, John Andrews, volunteer cross-country coach, Jake Just, volunteer football film manager, Josh Faber, sideline press box volunteer. Kevin Stein, sideline volunteer. Scott Meyer, sideline volunteer. Jeremy Buchanan, sideline volunteer. And Dan Brentwick, sideline volunteer. Is there a motion to approve these? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Is this all Brittany Miller's contract, or this in addition to her assistant coaching contract?
That was to elevate her to that interim position. We hadn't formally done it through your board action.
So she's getting paid more than $1,400.
Well, it's in addition to her other assistant dollars. So she'll get,
That's what I meant. So she's getting her assistant coaching contract, and then this is the prorated
It is,
contract
yes.
for the, okay.
yeah.
Because $1,400 was not enough money to pay her for the
I
whole
agree.
season. Okay,
I
thank you.
agree.
And then I also, I know that Justin Kuntz helped out on the sideline. Is he going to be, do we need to approve him, or are you not recommending him, or will we do that a different rate?
I probably need to do that next time because I admitted it.
Okay, I just was
Not-
trying to remember
not
all the folks that
intentionally.
were, I'm just trying to remember all the folks that were on the line and sideline, and if we're approving those, then we need to,
I mean, I went over the list with Darwin and we
Okay.
barely listed, so.
okay, no, that's okay, because I had just spoken to him and he was looking forward to helping. That's why it was brought up, I bringing it up, so.
I
You asked Darwin, and I just want to make sure that we don't miss it.
I will.
Okay, because I know that we had some volunteer junior high track coaches that we didn't approve. And so I don't want to have to have them be on the sideline and then have someone say you can't be on the sideline.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay,
agree with you.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the employment, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes.
I have an information item. Due to the passage of the new law that pertains to collective bargaining and some other employment law, all coaching contracts, whether teachers or non-certified people, all of them are one-year contracts, so it's likely we're going to be doing the entire list of coaches every year or periodically throughout the year with no one having a continuing contract.
Will that be true for us, even though we did 2-year contracts in February?
I don't have an answer for you for sure. I would suspect so, but I don't know.
With that
It's on
collective
the
bargaining,
schedule.
it will all change.
It will change,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that it's,
You have to do it every year. Despite the fact that you do a 2-year or 8-year, it's not automatically reviewed.
okay.
Okay, we have the TLC recommendations. We have Julie Easker as a TLC team leader and Marty Markford as a TLC team leader. Is there a motion to approve these?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Is Marnie going to be at the high school or the elementary? Okay.
Yeah, that was a high school, right?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
That was my question as well.
And this is in addition to Christine and Callie.
Yeah, he's finishing up.
Okay.
So we have everybody in place then for this year?
Okay, just got a motion to approve Julie Easter and Marty Markford for TLC team leaders. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay, request for improvement.
I wish to begin by stating clearly that we do not have a current health hazard in room 114. However, we have, for those of you that are familiar with the room, we've got the floor breaking up and an upheaval in the center. The concrete is cracked and it's breaking apart the old asbestos tile. As that tile continues to break apart and crumble, you have the ability the potential for it to turn into dust and fine particles, some of it potentially microscopic, that could become airborne, and that's friable asbestos, and that could become a potential serious health hazard. Rather than waiting until it is a health hazard, my recommendation is that we have some bids. Our business office has some bids, and Kevin's here to comment on that. And I recommend the board authorize the asbestos abatement to classroom 114 and the replacement of that floor and refinishing of that floor. Kevin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, the one bid that we do have for room 114 is dated. It's back from January of 2015. But we do need to go basically and get updated bids for that. But I would agree with Mr. Fraser that it's something that we need to address.
Scott, you've been going through all the rooms. Is there any other rooms that you've noticed that there's any damage to the
The
floors?
room you're talking about is my room.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say,
know.
that's not something
It's been that way for 25 years.
But
But
that-
every year it gets worse. Every year the heat comes up more, the break spreads more. There was live wire through the floor. We got that rectified, taken care of. But it's getting to a point now where it's getting high enough that it's become a hazard. But other than that, is there any other rooms that have that issue? No. But that room's the only one that had the electricity or the live wire going through the floor. There's no other rooms that I know of that have that built that way. And I don't know why. I mean, nobody's been able to give me background on how it was ever built in that fashion, so I don't know. But it's the only one.
So are you asking us to approve the bid from 2015, or are you asking us for permission to go out and get bids?
I would say we need to expedite this if we're to get this done in timely fashion, try to get our kids in the classroom as soon as possible. So I'm asking you to approve that bid, realizing that there may be some change between now and when we get a final bid.
What was that bid you had, Kevin?
It's from January of 2015. I think Josie emailed it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
earlier
that's
today.
And it's in the
It
package.
should be in the packet.
I didn't realize it was from 2000, I didn't get the date, so.
I highlighted a couple spots, the dollar amount,
So we don't,
the dates.
I'm discussing before, and again, I absolutely apologize, I should have discussed this with you ahead of time, however, I left on Sunday night, and the stuff wasn't loaded, so I wasn't able to see all of this, so I
Okay,
absolutely
no problem.
apologize. So is Dean Snyder Construction the only company that does this type of removal? Is Carpet One the only company that can provide carpet?
We are very limited into how many firms do asbestos abatement in the state of Iowa.
Yes.
Which is REW Services Corporation out of Maine. There's not a lot, like Mr. Fraser said, there's not a lot of options when it comes to that piece.
Right, and Dean Snyder's quote includes the REW folks. Right.
Correct.
But it doesn't, but Dean Snyder's quote also includes some contract or concrete work and things like that. So again, it's up to the board. I'm just bringing up, do we want to just assume that they're going to have the best for us? Or do we want to go out and get bids and then give you direction to work with the most appropriate bid?
I don't think we have time for that.
Well, I'll make a motion that you get bids and repair it. You think it's an exorbitant price?
Do you think that we had this bid, that it was approved back in January 15?
Yeah, but I don't know.
And it never got done.
I don't,
Right, right.
I don't know why it was, I don't know that it, I don't think the board approved it, or I don't know if it came to the board
No.
at that time. And I
I'm
know.
saying I would make a motion that he get the bids and go
Get
forward
the
with it,
bids
get
and then
it done.
decide.
I would like Mr. Fraser to suggest this correction. Correct, that's what I'm making.
The ultimate choice, so we can get it taken care of.
I agree, that's my motion. So does that make a motion for you?
Not really.
And if you want to just go ahead and have Dean Snyder do it, that's up to you guys. the bid 2 years ago was $10,000. The
It's
bid,
very expensive to get rid of asbestos.
yeah, so the bill could be $15,000 or $20,000.
Correct.
And if we just say we're gonna go with Dean Schneider doesn't have to honor this agreement.
No,
And they
I know
can-
that.
Yeah,
I say rebid, or we get numbers
We'll do
for
the
you.
best we can.
And yes, you take care of it. And that would be my motion to let you do that.
Okay, let's,
Does that make a motion?
I'd like to have a motion that we let our
Can put down.
superintendent take care of the process, but we need to repair the floor before the school year starts.
Yes, that would be my motion. That's what we say. I
That's
agree
good.
with you. I make a motion that we let the superintendent get the bids and take care of repairing the floor before school if possible.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any more discussion? If not, we have just approved the request to repair floor in classroom 114. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we have the Halverson train repair on Jacobson.
Yes, the west rooftop HVAC unit in this building, Jacobson, has a cracked coil that is irreparable. And if this had happened in December, we wouldn't feel it was an urgent issue, but we kind of think that right now we might want to get that taken care of as soon as possible. We are very limited in how many people can handle HVAC units like that. We have one bid from Halverson Train. What is that amount?
It was $15,700.
Okay, it's in the packet.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking the board to authorize replacement of that, the repair of that rooftop unit.
We already have a maintenance agreement with these people, correct?
Yes.
So
This is
that's
above and beyond maintenance.
right. Okay.
I move we have Halverson Train fix the unit on top of Jacobson.
I'll second that.
Dawn and Teresa. Okay, there's been a motion to repair the rooftop coil assembly on Jacobson building. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Vehicle bids. We had two vans. This one's a van, one's an Upland. 2000 Chevy Astro van. The high bid was Dwight 2 for $977. And the 2006 Chevrolet Uplander, also Dwight 2 for $1,277. Is there a motion to approve these bids?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Sharon? Second, Teresa?
Yes.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the bids for the two school vehicles purchased by Dwight 2. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay, Cedar Rapids Community School District Special Education Contract. Do you have anything to share with us?
Josina, this was a contract that we previously approved, but
Yeah.
it needs to be amended, is that all?
Yeah, we just updated it and sent us some copies.
Okay. And other than that, I don't have a lot of background on this.
So we've already approved it once, but we need to do it a second time because the student has changed levels. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Sharon?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the Cedar Rapids School District Special Education Contract, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay. The second reading of board policy for technology. Has everybody had a chance to review this? Is there a motion to approve? Laura?
I'll second.
Sure, thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the reading of the board policy for technology, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay, we're having the third reading of board policy updates. And everybody's had the opportunity to review these. Is there any further corrections or additions that anyone? If not, is there a motion to approve this?
So
Second?
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? If not, this being the third reading of board policy updates, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Passes. Okay, now we have a discussion on food service negative account balances of students.
This has been a new push within the last year from the federal U.S. Department of Education, that schools need to have plans and policies in place for how they deal with negative lunch accounts. You will see in this document here, you have a copy of this in your packet. It's from the Iowa Department of Education, and it says an audit of our food service reveals that we have a number of negative and delinquent nutrition fund or food service lunch accounts for our students. We are required to have a policy in place. We're supposed to have it in place by July 31st. I don't see that happening really, but I think we do need to take our time and do a serious job. And if they complain that we're not on time, well, they've done that before. But I think I'd like to say I think we need to have a serious discussion. This is one of the board's primary roles, is to come up with a policy. And I'd like to hear from the board, at what age and what grades is it appropriate to, if lunch balances go negative, to shut students off and not give them meals?
Never.
Okay? And is there a difference between elementary and secondary?
No.
Some boards have that philosophy that there should be. And if our thought is no one should be shut off, what other alternatives? At what point do we take our issues to small claims court and try to recapture our funding and so forth like that? So I post this to the board, and I'd like to hear some comments and share your thoughts with me.
What is our current policy?
We have no current policy.
So if somebody has a negative account balance, other than sending,
Nothing is done. If you notice this, these couple names have been in here for maybe 2 years.
oh, those are NSF checks. Those aren't
Yeah,
negative
they're
account
usually the
balances.
people that are, and they don't pay. They just keep eating and they don't pay. And I wish that they would just fill out the form, because most likely that could be taken care of, and then we wouldn't be getting in trouble.
So we don't have any policy in place that if we have, thank you.
We have had a policy in place that if they get to $5 negative, then they get a alternate meal. That was kind of put by the wayside 4 years ago, because we felt that it was not the child's, and this was not my decision, it came from, at that time, person. It's not the child's fault.
Right.
So we did take that kind of out of the wayside and still gave them the same meal that everyone else gets, because even if we do put a policy in place, we can't discriminate and say, here's a PB&J and a milk and a fruit, because that is showing that that child is negative, no matter at what age level.
Right.
So we did go by the wayside on that, and we do have some extremely negative accounts because they're still getting the same meal, so they're still being charged.
Right, but I've been negative before. My
Right.
children have- So, and I've gotten a sheet of paper that says
Right.
as of this date, it's been sent home with the
And
kids.
this
and-
$5 negative thing was on that paper up until 6 months ago, I think, because it's like, people are probably, like, they haven't followed that, so, and you know, I'm this negative, why are they even putting that on paper?
Okay.
So we did remove that part, because we didn't follow it.
So do we do anything in terms of sending the free and reduced guidelines with the negative balance? I mean, again, just
We have-
what is it that we're doing?
The person that runs the computer at the high school, she has, after the fact, after the student's been served, said, hey, if you want, I can get you this paperwork.
To the student or the parent?
To the student at that level. We don't do that in the elementary level. You know, it would be given to the parent at that level.
Okay.
Mr. Nelson made home visits to deliver some paperwork and visit with some parents when he was here.
Okay.
Kevin has made phone calls for me to say, this is where you're at, what can we do, what can you do?
Okay.
So those options are always there. And, you know, I just got my school paperwork in the mail the other day. Those are it's in there.
Right.
And it's always available, and that's on that paper that gets sent home with the kids. It's available in either office at any time, just ask your secretary.
So it sounds like to me that we don't necessarily have a written policy, but we have some processes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we either need to make those policies and then add some, or we need to completely start over. So
Since we have two new administrators, do you have any input on what was done for our facilities?
Well, you know, there are different schools have different philosophies. I was at Sioux Central in Sioux Rapids, and the board addressed this issue with that in that district. Their philosophy was, and really the board arrived at this themselves. I mean, I worked with them, but it was the board that said our elementary was K through 5. K through 5, no student will ever go without a meal. And we will try to collect, I don't think we ever set a dollar figure at what point we try to collect that money. But then they did say they would allow students to go into the red up to $35 in the red, but at that point they would shut students off. Because their philosophy, at least to that board, was by the time they hit 6th grade and higher, they have the ability to fix peanut butter sandwiches, fix their own lunches, and bring those in as an alternative to a hot lunch. So that's one way one board handled the issue. Mr. Young was at Mason City and saw, but you're basically familiar with the elementary, are you not?
Right, that's what, and the board kind of wrangled with this, wrestled with this spring, this past spring, because they got the same letter, I'm guessing, from the DE or
Well,
similar letter.
this is the state level,
State.
that every school in Iowa has to do this now.
Right, so they were working on that, and they kind of bounced around the same ideas, and I know that they felt very strongly that in Mason City, it was K4, our building was K4, that they wanted everybody to get the same lunch, because we did the brown bag thing, even last year, we were still doing they got a brown bag, and that was very shaming, in my opinion, for the kids, and it was. Several kids had expressed that to me, and the board said, well, we're not going to do that anymore. But beyond that, I don't know what they finally resolved in terms of the high school, because they do a cash deal at the high school as opposed to a swipe, which is what they do at the elementary school. So it was they have two different options at the high school, because they have a swipe too, but they also get a lot of kids pay cash because they have a la carte items and salad bars and all kinds of things.
Well, this is very pie in the sky. We talked about this on the ride home yesterday from the conference, but the more I think about this, the more I believe that we should be providing lunch to the students, like we provide them books and we provide them uniforms for their sports, and we provide them towels, and we provide them music for their band and choir. It's something that we should be providing. And there was an editorial in the Des Moines Register on Monday that said that they thought that this is something that kids need to have, they need to eat, and the schools should provide lunch for free. And I understand that that would be a huge cost, but I just philosophically, I have a hard time saying that kids can't eat.
I think that they should all be allowed to eat, no questions asked, but we have to do something about these parents that do this every year. It's not the child's fault. They should always be able to eat, but they can't be hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the hole and maybe not fill this out. And I know everybody gets this form at the beginning of the year, it's available in the office. I don't understand why it's just not filled out. Nobody needs, nobody does know if you fill it out, except maybe the director, but that's private. You guys tell people that. We can't just keep running in the hole, in the hole, in the hole, and keep getting in trouble for this. Something has to be done. We can't just be like, hey, they send a paper home, and that does nothing.
Is that something you can address at registration after there and talk to all?
Everybody's given it at registration.
Not given, as I know, but talk to, or, last year you have this, now you can fill this, and you can fill this out, and we'll fill it out right here with you together. Is that even possible or not?
Sure.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry.
It can be, but I think some of these people that constantly go negative don't come to registration and therefore probably, don't quote me, or more than just food service, from what I understand on a few of them. I don't know that for a fact, sorry.
Kid, how big of a problem is this? How far in the hole are we actually on lunches? And is it in elementary or high school?
It's a mixture of both. I mean, as a whole, you saw I'm in the positive for a whole, but negatives between both buildings probably is close to 5,000, if not a little bit more, which is not a lot compared to some. But when I started, we weren't nearly that much, but they were also peanut butter and jelly and a milk.
Is it mainly elementary?
No.
Maybe high school?
Yes. There's little bits and pieces in each building, but the majority of the major delinquent ones are in upper.
City school do a cash? Or is that just impossible to think about?
I know
I
my
mean,
dear
good,
Patty,
sure.
I'm sorry, I believe the child should be able to eat. It's
Well,
not
I
their fault,
agree,
so.
but you get to high school, if they brought cash, they're not gonna.
So I
Yeah,
have,
but if they don't have cash, if their parents don't give them cash, they don't get to eat.
Mr. Frazier ran an idea by me. I would like him to discuss that.
Well, one of the things, what Laura's referring to is, one of the things in my previous district, we automated the registration process. So you could register online from your home. And now that all our students have devices, that becomes a possibility. They can pay their bills, use a credit card, and just pay from their home and so forth. And one of the things we did that was highly effective was the company we have, Infinite Campus, has a module where parents can apply for free and reduced lunches online. And that actually increased our free and reduced lunch participation because parents didn't have to stand in a special line during registration or something like that, or talk to a special person and ask for things. They could just go online and fill out the paperwork without anybody knowing. So it's something to consider down the road.
A couple of ideas. I would think that the Department of Ed would have some sort of sample policy.
it's the IASB one that Josie emailed me.
Policies that we have.
Okay, so I don't have a copy of it.
No.
Okay, all right. So that would be the first, I think that would be a good starting spot.
It was a generalized, and I kind of went off of it and typed one up and sent it to Josie.
Okay.
But I had a site visit yesterday with my consultant. She was up here and we visited about this issue. And she said it's a local policy, so it's a generalized template, but then we would have to make up the dollar amounts or what we're gonna do after that.
Exactly, yes.
But so, like the one I typed up, it's just generalized just to get an idea going.
Exactly, I think that's where we need to start. Let's not reinvent the wheel, let's take something and then make it our own. For example, okay, you have to have at $5, this happens. At $20, this happens. At $50, this happens. At $150, this happens. First reminder, second reminder, third reminder, these are then the steps that we need to take, and that's what we need to do to establish that policy. So having that template, I'm assuming that template has that sort of...
It gave me 3 choices to go off of.
Okay, okay. Well, and then as a board, we may want to look at something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have looked at other policies from other areas in Iowa. And a lot of them don't go with what we can actually do, so they'll be denied when they get submitted.
Right.
But it's just in how you all, what we can agree on.
We know
Well,
what's
and,
around.
you know, we have the template, we can, Kim and I, and working with some others, we can draft some sample policies to bring back to this board, but my intention of putting this on the agenda at this time was for you to talk philosophically about what your beliefs are. Is there a cutoff that would change? We handle middle school differently than elementary or high school or anything like that. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Each of you weigh in and find out how we should start drafting that policy to bring a sample to you.
I think personally, no child should go without lunch. And I think after a certain dollar amount, you know, the $100 or whatever, that student on the next day will have to bring cash and start paying cash daily. It's just an idea.
I would just like something to be done, because they know that a letter isn't doing anything. And that way the kids don't have to get a letter, they don't have to bring it home, that were mailed to the parents, so we know the parents got it. And then we can just give them some anonymity, but
Is there
they know
something
that
to
there's just a paper, and they don't. Even like, you know, threat would be better than just, hey, pay your bill, because it's not working.
Yeah, and then, you know, they get the letter and they ignore it right
Oh,
here.
okay. Well, I just, you know.
Yeah, because the parents might not even be getting them.
Yeah.
One idea is when we put all this information in Infinite Campus and parent portal, if we can set up to where when it gets to like $10 positive or $5 positive, they will get an email or a text saying, your child is at this much, please send lunch money.
Can you do that through Infinite
We
Campus?
can.
I
It's just a
think
matter
that's probably
of-
one of the steps.
Right,
Yep.
I totally agree. It's just a matter of all of that information getting entered correctly. And I'm not pointing fingers.
No, no. Those
Just
that
the top.
have the Infinite Campus app on their phone do get alerts, until we changed the $5 thing, because we updated that in Infinite Campus. Prior
So
to that, they would
is
get
it text
alerts.
message alerts or is it email alerts?
They could sign up for either one,
Okay.
but whenever they went on Infinite Campus, it was in their messaging.
Okay.
So it showed
Okay.
that they could get it. Now, they have additional modules that are attached to the FRAM, which is the free and reduced, and the other things where you can do online registration. That will also do an alert text through campus. It's called the Infinite Campus Messenger. And there's a variety of other things that will be good for teachers too, to alert parents if their students are below a certain grade, that type of thing for communication.
So what I'm envisioning is that once they reach a certain dollar amount, whatever everybody agrees to, is that the first step is to reach out to them to make sure that they filled out the free and reduced. I love the idea of being able to do it online or having somebody reach out to them. Then another step would be to make sure that they're signed up for the app so they receive the notices and alerts.
They can also get an alert on their Mac now.
Okay, but that's the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, somehow we need to make sure that we're giving, yeah.
I have a 16-year-old that doesn't bring any paperwork home to me or anything that needs to be signed. I believe it needs to go to the parents directly.
I agree.
You know, is everybody around all districts having the same difficulties, you think?
Yes.
Statewide.
I heard a neighboring town has gone up to like 30,000 negative in their whole accounts.
Wow.
Thankfully, we're not to that point.
Yeah.
I don't ever, want to get to that point, but we just have to figure out something to stop that from happening. And like I said, we're sitting good, but it's just these ones that.
So then the third step would be a letter from either Kim or a letter from the superintendent saying you need to call and make arrangements by this particular date. And then if that date isn't done, then you need to follow up with that person and say, you missed this date, what are we gonna do about it?
Yeah, and then what?
And then after another certain dollar amount, then it's a small claims.
But we're still gonna feed the kid.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And then take them to small claims and you're not gonna get anything.
Yeah, but
But it's also gonna make a statement, and hopefully the parents will start filling out the paperwork for free and reduced.
I believe on the letter, Kevin, your name is on the letter because I get the letter at $2 and that's how I know how to pay. It usually gives you instructions, does it not, on how to apply, but they must not be being read.
Right, but what if they don't qualify?
Right.
There's no reason why it's not getting paid.
But what if they don't?
Right.
They just don't, they aren't paying it, they don't qualify for free and reduced
I got that.
I'm
really-
just saying that.
I know you're.
How many, what's our percentage down here of free?
As a district, we're
Yeah.
roughly 54-55% as a district.
So over half the kids are getting their
Yes,
lunch for free
correct.
anyway.
Well, for your reduced.
Free reduced, yes.
How do they pay for lunch? I don't even know. Do they have to come in and physically give you
No,
cash?
we do not handle money
But
at
I
the
mean,
point of
how
sale.
do
They
they
give
pay
it
it then?
to the secretaries or online,
They give them money.
or
Or
they
you
might
can-
give it to their
they can
teacher
swipe
and they
the
bring
Or
card.
it.
there's a parent.
They
No,
can-
there's
No,
No, we don't swipe cards
don't
yet.
swipe
We,
You do that online,
you can put your card in online, yes.
or if they're cash. But not
Show
dollars,
your
it's
receipt.
retired.
And you get a receipt to prove, to prove that you put that money in. Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate this feedback. Kim and I will get together and we'll draft up some, one or two sample policies and with some, given the guidelines you put forth to us, and probably bring that something back for the August meeting. So you judge from that and we can go further on that. Thank you for the feedback. Like I said, this is one of the most important functions of school board service. Talk philosophically about the guidelines by which our administration will operate and how our administrative team will function and do things. Thank you.
Finalize legislation priorities of the school board.
I really have nothing in particular to recommend at this time. IASB primarily, you have it, I'm sorry, you have this sheet at your place, a sheet that I wrote up to talk about IASB legislative priorities. They asked for those by August 11th, and obviously we're not going to meet again until after that date. But IASB is primarily interested to see if school boards have other issues or other ideas other than those things they're already emphasizing. I dare say we are probably in complete agreement with the idea that we need, number 2, support for the formula foundation, the foundation formula. That number 4, that we need to support supplemental state aid. And we would like to have that information a year or 2 in advance and so forth. So I think we're all probably in agreement with this. But I want you to know I believe that very strongly that we need to be advocates for the kids in our district and go to our legislators and take these issues. So on a regular basis, I'm going to be bringing these items to you and talk about how we can connect with our state senator, our state representative, and best advocate for the kids in Belmont, Clement,
They have a specific priority they want to bring forward. Let's move on. Discussion on upcoming board election and orientation.
And I mentioned that that the filing window is now open for the school board, and there's 2 questions I'd like to pose to this board. One is, how can we promote board service as a worthwhile thing to do and recruit people to this table? And the other is, what advice can you give me as to how we should be orienting new board members before the election and after the election to bring them on and get them up to speed as quickly as possible to serve on this board?
I do believe there should be some sort of training. As of right now, when you were elected, you were dropped in and basically expected to know everything. And if you have no previous history, it's tough. You do learn quickly, but it would be nice to have a little something there.
We did have a workshop But you came in mid-year, so you did get it on. But when we started, we had a workshop, and that was helpful.
Even just to remind everyone of the Robert's Rules of Order and everything like that, because it can be overwhelming, and it's nice to brush up on information.
The conference in November, I think that first year that we were all on, there were several of us that went down to that and led the last one down there too. I think that's-
School Board Association
Yep.
training is excellent.
Yep. I think that's, I mean, some people couldn't go both days, some people were down there the whole time. So, but I think that's a very
That's
important
the
one to
state
go to.
convention that she's talking
Yeah,
about.
the
Oh,
state
the November
convention.
state
Yep.
convention.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's what we should try. You know, they have 2 full days, so many different topics. If you can't make both days, you maybe try to make one. Check out a few classes, talk with other people.
I think ADA is helpful too.
ADA is very good. So,
And I would even say, you know, you go in and you get all this information, but then you're still kind of in.
Are overwhelmed.
So maybe like in 6 months, then go back and review stuff, you know. That's so difficult.
Now, my practice is generally to offer myself to meet with the candidates before the election. And just let them know what the job entails and what the benefits and the rewards are. I'm reminded of when I was middle school principal, and they had a candidate debate, and one candidate said, "Before we get started, can I ask how much this job pays?" He wasn't interested in pursuing it after that. So, but you know, let them know what the job entails, and then I would want to sit down, preferably with a current board member after the election, and sit down and spend maybe a couple days, at least one day, just going through our current initiatives, Robert's Rules of Order, as you say, and talking about a little bit of our history and where we're planning on going with things. And then probably another day, I'd like to take time and set up time with my administrative team, like 30 minutes with each of them, so they can find out what our department head for special education, what those rules are. I know that's one of the stranger things you deal with as a board, is all these special ed rules that you have no background in and that are so technical. But so that's my idea, is that things I've done in the past is that pre-election meeting and then a couple of days of post-election training. And I'd welcome any other suggestions you have.
I think that would be great, and I appreciate your Thursdays that you send out to us. That's helpful too.
Good.
I think that would be helpful to someone new also.
Good.
It's probably good to set goals for the board and for yourself too.
Absolutely. We should be setting goals. And when to further that, I'd say I think there should be some kind of dovetailing between superintendent and board goals. And I would insist that the administrative team has goals that dovetail with mine as well, because it helps me achieve my goals. I can get them to do all the work.
Okay, let's move on to the discussion of the Iowa School Board Association's Financial Management Conference. Fiscal, excuse me.
Well, I'll defer to some of the board members that attended, what you thought of the conference and what you learned from it.
It was cold.
It was freezing. I thought it was very good. It's good to hear a lot about collective bargaining, what you can and cannot do. The only thing you can bargain is the base salary, and get some different ideas on how people negotiated, whether in this state or out of this state, and what they talked about. I learned a lot there. Have a lot of good ideas from that.
Same here. They covered a lot of information in a short period of time.
I still have a lot of questions about the new law, new changes to Chapter 20, collective bargaining. You know, after a number of years working within the system, there were all these different topics that were permissible for bargaining. There were mandatory topics of bargaining. You had to discuss with the teacher union and the other unions wages, hours, vacations, insurance. Now you can discuss wages, but not all wages, only base wages. That's the only thing that's required. You may or may not discuss hours, vacations, and you cannot discuss insurance. It is a non-negotiable. Major change.
I was pleased by the lady that runs IPERS with her presentation, and that made me feel much better about the financial solvency of IPERS, and that it's...
That's because you collect them, it didn't mean nothing to me.
No, I was paying attention while I was eating.
I think too, one of the important things I learned through is to make sure and include the teachers, because I'm sure they're fearful of losing, control and partial control, and I think to include them and communicate with them and make this a positive thing rather than a negative for them.
I like what he said, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Should, right.
I found one of the more interesting things that the Wisconsin group said was, some groups said it would be easier just to say, well, the old contract is now our new handbook. And they said, whatever you do, don't do that. Contract is not a handbook. You need to go back and purposefully write a new handbook and enlist your faculty and staff in writing that handbook. So it's not just a simple change the title page.
I went to the lobbyists breakout session, and that was interesting to hear what their take on what happened last year and what they expected this year. And they said we were lucky that they set the fiscal year 2018 funding early, even though it was low at 2%, because they said if they would have done it later in the session, there probably would have been zero. And because we're the only ones that didn't get cut. Every other entity got cuts. And they are predicting that it'll probably be a 0% increase for next year. And I think they're probably right. They're really focused on, this is on this sheet too, they're very focused on saving that penny sales tax and not having that sunset in 2029. But they're having a hard time getting the legislature to care about something that far out in the future. But for schools that have to do bond issues and have to project things out that far, it's important that that stays there.
I went to Gary Schwartz's talk, and he talked about bond issues, and not everything has to go through a bond issue, right? Which was pretty interesting to me, because we tried to pass the bond issue this school for quite a lot of times, 5 times, I think. And, it's feasible to do it without them. So.
Last item, school board retreat. Board want to set a date, have a board workshop.
Well, this is a personal request of mine. I would like to suggest that I think it would be helpful with the new superintendent on board to get together in an informal setting where we could just all sit around the table without microphones in our faces and just kind of talk about how do we put a board agenda together? How do we get things on the agenda? How do we deal with some of the issues like complaints from staff, complaints from public? How do we solve some of the issues without getting specific as to what those issues are? Something that would be a no action item meeting where we're just going to talk about how we operate, not what we're trying to do. So I'd like to suggest, do you think something like that would be feasible for August?
Do you think we should wait until the new board is in place so we don't have to reinvent the wheel?
We could do that.
When's election?
September.
I'll be back in September.
Are you sure?
I might be in the field.
I work at sports and stuff too, so I really gotta
Have a good day.
I don't know if I will be here, but a Thursday usually works. I don't book Thursdays if I'm here. But usually we can mostly all get off Thursdays.
So the election is the 12th.
Yes, 12th of September. And you've got a board meeting the 14th of September, which is,
So the new
it's going to be a
ones
little awkward because they don't canvass the votes till the 15th of September.
Okay.
Why are we having a board meeting on the 14th?
I don't know.
I thought we were doing it on the third Thursday. Have we changed that?
Yeah, in the past, we typically moved that board meeting back until after the campus, because the auditor's office will campus that on Monday, for the supervisors.
Well, I would have expected it to be on the 21st, but it's your calendar.
Yeah. I would put the
Should be on the
It should be.
21st.
We moved that
Okay.
to the 21st for our board meeting.
and have to do the retreat.
Then it's clear for like in September, is that okay with you before a workshop?
What's that?
Then we wouldn't, we have a workshop till clear to the end of September. Is
That's
that
true,
okay?
and we can't have a workshop before the meeting because the new meeting has to be the organizational
Right,
meeting
right.
where we seat the new members.
Okay.
Would you like one sooner than that? Workshop?
Well, I'd like, but, you know, got to work with what you guys.
Are we able to go?
Pardon?
If we have to have another one with the new candidates, that's fine. I would like to try and get one prior to.
Agreed.
So,
So the August meeting is the 17th, correct? Of August.
Yes.
Well, what other night would work? How about the Thursday before that?
Saturdays will be no good.
Right.
But
What about the Thursday before that board meeting?
I will probably not be here. On the 10th. Okay.
I'd rather do-
I know I will.
Okay, 24th. How's that look?
24th of August, you say?
School starts, what, the 23rd?
23rd?
This may be something you'll have to run through us, email.
Okay.
I don't have my calendar with me, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
And maybe then we can hopefully narrow it down.
Certainly, we can do that. You can take a look at the calendars.
Are you thinking like a night meeting?
Right, something like that, yeah.
Like 7 o'clock. I'm just gonna write it down on 7 o'clock on the 24th.
I think you may want to schedule the next one while you're at it, just to
Right.
have it done.
That's a good idea. Okay, I'll survey and I'll find out after you've had a chance to check and look into it a little further.
Sounds good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourn, please say yes.
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 Thank you, everybody.